We live in a hologram, and I'm going to prove exactly how it works. When I say a holographic reality, what I mean by that is that the easiest way to scientifically describe how our reality functions is by comparing it to a hologram, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that we live in like some matrix simulation that somebody forced on us and we're like slaves to it or whatever. It just means that our reality functions like a hologram, and I'm gonna break it down and show you how. It's literally midnight right now, but this has to be done apparently. So the sun is the projector of our reality, okay? So the sun takes pure consciousness, pure information. Light is information, right? And it projects it from God consciousness, okay? We know that the sun, I mean, we don't know, but it's like pretty sure that the sun is basically like a black hole, that the sun has a black hole at the center, right? So it's absorbing and then also projecting, right? The human eye works the same way. That's why it looks like we have a literal black hole in the center of our eye, is because it is absorbing and then projecting. So the sun is absorbing God consciousness from the universe, from source, from God, and then it is projecting into our reality. That light is carrying data, which is raw truth from the universe. Our eye absorbs that raw data through our own little black hole, right? And then projects it back into reality. But the human body becomes the filter for the data that's coming in, right? So since birth, we've had experiences, we've had beliefs pushed upon us, we've had programs embedded in us from reality. Everything that we've ever experienced becomes the filter that our data goes through, right? So our human avatar, us as consciousness, becomes a filter, right? So it's like essentially like we're wearing a filter over our eye, and whatever we take in and project out goes through that filter. So it's no longer raw data from the universe, it is now filtered data from the universe, okay? Then that is what we project out into the world, which creates our holographic reality, okay? So the eye receives the raw data from the universe, your beliefs, programming, memory, and expectations filter and process the data, and then your eye projects the new information into the holographic reality. Breaking this down like I have in previous videos and like I earlier referenced from the book Outsmarting Reality by Neuroknowledge, he talks about how we are the cause and reality is the effect, right? So I broke this down a little further because when I posted that, people were like, okay, well, if our thoughts are and our emotions like are the cause of our reality, where do those thoughts come from? The true cause of everything is God, right? We are facets of God. God is within us. Essentially, we are God as well. But the unity consciousness of everything is the actual cause, because nothing would exist without that, right? So the actual true cause is God consciousness. Our human avatar, who we are in this life, who you are right now, is the individual consciousness that has separated itself from the unity consciousness, not truly separated, but in the illusion of separation, and it becomes the filter, right? Then reality is the effect. So we have the cause, goes through the filter, and then creates the effect, which is reality. If we break this down even farther, okay? So again, you have the raw data, the universal truth. That represents the spiritual plane. So again, referencing something from Neuroknowledge, Outsmarting Reality, talking about the 3 planes of existence, which all need to be in alignment for you to bring your reality into existence, the desired reality. So you have the spiritual plane, the mental plane, and the physical plane. This is represented by the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and multiple other things in other cultures and religions, right? So you have the spiritual plane, which is that raw truth, that is God consciousness. It is a completely neutral force, okay? Then you have the mental plane, which is represented in this holographic reality as the moon. It is also a completely neutral force, but it is a reflector and an amplifier of your conscious, subconscious mind, right? So your thoughts, the things inside your head. So when we talk about how like the sun is masculine, the moon is feminine, the moon controls the tides, all of that, we're made up of water, right? Like this is all the subconscious. The ocean represents the subconscious. Like this is why all the symbols like align in that way, because the moon is reflecting our subconscious thoughts. It is also reflecting the raw information from the God consciousness, right? Then we have the physical plane, which is us, showing the eye, because that is our personal projector. And while the sun and the moon are both neutral, we are polarized. We are not neutral. We are biased. We have all of that information that we have taken in from our life experiences, and that makes us a not neutral being, right? So this is where we have the filtered data. The moon is the reflector and the amplifier, okay? So this is where people work with like the moon cycles and things like that, right? So if you actually understand what the moon does, the moon is completely neutral. All it is going to do is reflect back the information that it's being given, okay? So if you are, afraid, anxious, angry, whatever, the moon's just going to reflect more of that back. So whatever it's getting from the sun, and then whatever it's getting from you is what's being reflected into reality, right? So ultimately, the moon doesn't have any power or control over it. It's just going to reflect and amplify whatever you are sending out into the universe, okay? And then, so basically, as this says, the sun streams pure potential, God consciousness. The eye, which is your perception, filters that into, I can't read it because the line's over it. Oh, filters that into personal meaning. And then the moon, the subconscious mirror, reflects your filtered frequency back. This combined data projects as your reality, okay? So if we know that the eyes have a filter over it, right? So we know, scientifically speaking, that the eye doesn't actually see what is there. We know that it sees light and data, and then our brain or our consciousness or whatever creates an image based off of the assumptions being made by the data that it's taking in, right? We know that it works that way. So what we're seeing is literally being made up by our mind, being made up by our filter, being made up by our biases, being made up by the polarization that we have internally. So to remove the filter, we have to become as neutral as the sun and the moon. Now, neutrality is something that is often looked at negatively in our world, to be neutral when there's so much going on in the world and da-da-da-da. And it doesn't mean to be dismissive or whatever. Being neutral means to remove that filter and to not be polarized, right? So to be able to look at things as they are instead of from a really polarized human point of view, right? So most cultures and religions talk about that God consciousness as being pure love, right? Not love in the way that humans experience it, but pure, unconditional, unfiltered love. And we are taking in all of that love, but then we are filtering it through our own set of programming and experiences and yada yada. So the goal is to remove that filter, to become neutral so that we can experience unconditional love and then project unconditional love back into our reality, which then creates the reality. So I know that's super complicated. Comment, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you have any questions or if you want me to make a video going more in depth on anything. Love you.